I don't like to be told that we're going to put this restriction on you. Trust me, it's like face masks for me. It's not about the face masks. It's just being told what to do. I just don't like doing stuff, right? And I know that about myself. However, I've parlayed that into becoming a student of wealth. Here's the other thing I want to say is I'd like to come back with Jackie's permission, come back and do this stuff from time to time. I'm not the expert. What I am, though, is a guide. And all I want to do is guide a conversation because I want to find like-minded people. Can I tell you the best thing that's happened to me in the last month? The best, business-wise, the best thing. I got an email, I own a good chunk of a market center in Kansas City in the Lee Summit area, and we bought the building. We decided we're going to buy the building. And so I kind of bought it by myself. It was $1.8 million. I've got a partner that does all my commercial deals with me. We could have bought it on our own. But I said, you know what? If I'm going to buy 50%, let me go to my investors and see if they want to be a piece of it. So I went to them and they all said, yes, we'd like to be a piece of it. It was like 20% cash on cash, Tyler. It was a great deal. It was good cash flow, And I had never bought a commercial building. All the stuff I bought was single family residence or multifamily residence. So this was my first rodeo with it. And so we go in, I'm the tenant. So I put together a lease that's very favorable to me as a tenant. And yet still gives us as investors a 20% cash on cash return on the building. Which business was I making money off of, by the way? Both of them. And so we paid 1.7, put $300,000 in TI. It's a beautiful building, got a 10-year lease that's very favorable to me as a tenant. And my partner, my commercial guy says, hey, listen, I have an out-of-town buyer that has a 1031 exchange. Has anybody done a 1031 exchange? The challenge with 1031 exchanges is the clock's ticking. You have to get something under contract. And so I got a 1031 buyer, and he said, do you have a single tenant commercial building with a tenant in it that has at least a 10-year lease? And Chuck goes, well, I actually know of one, but you won't like the price. So Chuck said, I threw out a price. The guy agreed to it for a $1.2 million profit in 8 months. Now, that's a happy day. That's like, yay, good job. But that's not what made my day. What made my day was one of my investors emailed me and said, do you know what just happened? I said, no. She said, because of this investment, I'm completely paying off my mortgage. Thank you. You know why you want to be wealthy? That's life-changing. Now I'm going to go back to her and tell her what a foolish idea it is to pay off your mortgage, because financially that's not a smart deal right now. But that's a whole nother kind of conversation, right? That's a psychological thing for a lot of people, because when money's cheap, you borrow as much as you can. That's the secret of almost every wealthy person I know. I love that. Guys, what I'm hoping happens is some of us together say, gosh, that stirs me up that all of a sudden wealth isn't about me. My job isn't about me. It's really about other people. And I don't say that because it's a cliche of what leaders are supposed to say. I want to build wealth because I want to make a difference in people's lives. I want people to pay off their houses. I want another one of the investors let his kids be a part of it. And his kid's going to take the money he made from it and put it down on his first home, his own first personal residence. Like, this kid's investing in a commercial property before he even buys his own first residence. I think that's the stuff. That's the cool stuff. Is that okay? All right. So let's talk about just kind of the flow of money, and hopefully I share the screen in a way that, let's see, advanced. And can you see my Elmo? See my hand? Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's just talk a little bit about how money works, because I think that there's a lot of ideas about this, and I want to get it really clear. So when we talk about money and cash flow, we get it really from two places. I work and I make money, or I have an asset that just kicks off cash. I don't know of any other, I'm going to use a different pin. I don't know of any other two places I could get money. Do you guys know anything? I either trade time and energy and effort and I get money in return, or I have an asset, whether I own a building or I own a business or I own a title company, hint, hint, or in a mortgage company or own rental properties. I have an asset that just kicks off cash to me. Does anybody have anywhere else that cash could come from? Okay, good. I was just a little worried about that. So what we have for that is cash flow. How many of you cash flow is important to you? Yeah, what was it? Jim Rohn said it rates right up there with oxygen. It's anybody who says I don't work for money actually probably has more of a problem with money than those who understand. I don't work for money. Authentically, I don't. I work for fun because my money's taken care of. I don't need to work. You guys get it? And so what I can do with cash flow is one of four things. This is just basic economics. I can, number one, I could spend it, right? How many of you know how to spend it? I've seen some of your cars. How many of you know how to spend? Yes, we know how to spend it. The problem with that is I treat my money like they're like little, it works for me, the little green soldier army guys that back in the, like when I was growing up, they used to have these. Now I guess it's all video games, but it's like these little green plastic army guys. And I'd send my dollars are like those guys. They're like, I send them out into battle and I want them to come back with 4 buddies. That's how money works in my mind. Well, when I spend it, I just send them out to die. So I've sent a lot of soldiers to Nordstrom's and they die. I send some out to, shopping and I come back, my kids come back with a purse. They come back with stuff, right? They spend it. My son is the biggest shoe collector of my family. He's got so many sneakers, it's not even funny, right? But we could spend it. Number 2, we could hold it. We could just hang on to it. We could take your cash, put it in a safe, lock it up, put it under a mattress and hang on to it. Think through this as people who are wealthy, as investors. What's the challenge with holding money?
That is not making any money.
I love that, Faith. Yes, it's not making any money. And guess what else it's doing? What's that?
Losing money.
Yeah, if you hold it, has anybody heard of this thing called inflation? What's the current inflation rate? It's about 3%, 4%. So get this, your dollar next year is not worth $1 that it is today. It's actually 4% less next year. And if you keep that over time, your dollar under your mattress, while maybe it makes you feel good and sleep good at night, is actually becoming less and less valuable if you just hold it. By the way, let me just stop sharing this so you can see my face when I say this. We were all brought up with this mantra: go to school, get a job, save your money, put it in the bank. I'm 54 years old. I know I don't look a day above 21, but I'm 54 years old. Is that not the mantra we were raised on? Go to school, get a job, put your money in the bank. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the lower middle class. That's their mantra. That's not the mantra of the wealthy. So let me share this again. So we could do that. We could also invest it where our money starts to work for us, and we're going to spend the bulk of our time talking about that, or we could give it. Can I tell you the common denominator amongst every wealthy person I know is they're outrageous givers. I'm going to talk, if I get to it today, I've got more material than probably what I'm going to cover, but step number 1, if you want to become wealthy, become an outrageous giver now. Money is just like electricity that's lighting your room. It has to come in and it has to go out. If it comes in and it stops, the flow of money has to constantly be moving in order for you to become wealthy. Learn to give now, because I'm going to just tell you this. It's much easier to give $1 when you make 10 than it is to give $10 after you make 100. It's wherever you are right now, learn to be an outrageous giver now. Give a percentage of it away. So now, let me ask you this. Is there anything else you could do with money other than these 4 things? Please help me out if there is. This is just basic economics. Jackie, you told me this group is talkative. I guess I must be intimidating or something. I don't know. All right, so we can talk about investing. Now, here's 2 ways that we can invest. We can invest as a passive investor or as an active investor. And when I want you to think about these 2 things is about control. If you're a passive investor, they control your money. We're going to talk about that. If I'm an active investor, is I control my money. How many of you are a little bit of control freaks? Yeah, raise your hands. Yeah, it's like, and there's a portion of it that I want to control, and there's a portion of it I want others to control. So when we go underneath each one of these, there's 2 things, and then we'll slow it down and start talking about this, is I could either be a passive lender, I could loan money, or I could be a passive owner and I could own stuff. So what would be an example of me being a passive owner, a passive investor that they control it, where I loan money? Give me an example of that.
Like a hard cash lender.
Okay, that would be them loaning money to me. But when I'm the lender, when I'm under investing, what would be an example of somebody that is being a passive lender? We all do it, by the way.
Stock market.
Okay, stock market would actually be more, I actually own something there. I own stocks in a company. What happens when you go to the bank and put your money in the savings account? You're actually loaning the bank money so that they could turn around and take that same money that you're loaning to them, and you're loaning to them at like a 0.00005% interest. And what do they do with that same dollar? They go loan it to Tyler Shields for 4% interest. That's what banks do. Now, do any of us have a problem with the banking system? I don't. But let me ask you this. If I'm a passive lender and I'm going to give the bank money, am I going to get wealthy? Please say no.
No.
You don't save yourself to success. You don't save yourself to wealth. This is what I would say is you want to loan the bank about 3 months to 6 months of your monthly expenses. So if you take $10,000 to live every month, loan the bank $60,000, and then that's it. The rest of it, you might want to write this down. I hate dead money. Make that your affirmation. This is pretty much dead money. This, holding money under a couch or cash in a safe, that's dead money. I want money that I'm not using to go work for me. It's kind of like if I hired an employee that wanted to come to the office and watch Netflix all day, not answer the phones, not do the tasks. That's dead money. That's a dead employee. Many of us are doing this because that's how we were brought up. Now, who's the gentleman that said stocks?
Thomas.
Hey, Thomas. Yeah, so I could passively go own stocks. How many own stock? That's a good example of me owning something passively. Okay, come back to stocks. What's another example of that? Of me being a passive owner where somebody else totally controls it, but I own it.
Profit share.
Yeah, actually that is. I don't know if, yes, I guess so. I had thought about that actually, but it's like they control it. I don't know that I really own anything because it's not a share. I can't cash it in at any point, but it does kick off cash every month. And it's a great investment. And by the way, the reason why I don't think most of us use profit share or take advantage of it is we don't understand this conversation. I'll come back. I hope I come back to that. So mutual funds. Yesterday, Tyler and I heard a guy talk a lot about index funds where he buys index funds, and he recommended what the Vanguard, overall index fund that's going to, and it's constantly rising. I own a lot in S&P funds. I also own some other stock. I own some Tesla stock. So I'm really thankful Dave Umpris went out and bought a Tesla because he supports my cause. But here's the thing. I like my Tesla stock because it goes up and up and up. But do I have any say or any control or any influence over how Tesla runs their business? No, and I actually don't understand why some days it goes up and some days it goes down. I don't get it, but it does. About 2 years ago, somebody recommended a little gaming stock called Zynga. And I'm like, okay, why not? I put $1,000 into Zynga, right? It's like on your apps. And then there was a time period, this was during the Trump administration, where then President Trump stood up and said something to this effect. Violence is so bad in America, and partly to blame for that is all the video games that have so much violence. Guess what happened to my stock? It dove just because a president makes one comment. Now it's since recovered for that, but that's passive ownership. I have no way to control the float. You get it? Is this making sense? This is just the flow of money, so we can talk about it. Okay, so here over the active side, now let me ask you this. Is this good or is this bad? This just is. It needs to be a part of how you look at your dollars. I put 6 months in here. The government allows us to own passively so much because you're self-employed. You could, I think it's $56,000 if you pay yourself in a certain way. You could put $56,000 in a tax sheltered SEP account and not pay taxes on that money and take it out after you retire. Is that true? I accept like $56,000. So are there some huge advantages to owning passively? You better believe it. What I want to encourage you to do is put money in every one of the buckets. strategically. So active is I could be an active lender, loan money, or I could be an active owner, which I love this thing, where I actually own something that kicks off cash. And I'm going to give you a real life example of it. So like to Faith's point, I could become the hard money lender. What's the hard money rate right now?
Like
10%.
Yeah.
Is it 10? It's usually higher than that, but what?
I got a 10% lender.
Well, you're a lucky man. But because if you came to me, Tyler, and said, I need 100K, I'd loan it to you. Probably I'm going to want 15%, because it has to do better than what I could do in an investment property.
Yeah.
So one of my businesses came to me and said, hey, we need to borrow money from you. Awesome, great. I'm going to loan money to my own business that I make money off of, right? And I'm going to get an interest rate back there that's secured by the business. Can I be a lender? Ready? Only if you have cash. You can't be a lender if you're $100,000 in credit card debt, and I've been there. You get it? Or I could be an owner. What's some things that I could own that produce cash for me?
Property.
Yeah. Faith, thank you for being a real estate professional. I ask that question in all my real estate classes, and that's usually the last thing they get. Yes, you have an inside track. You have a front row seat to legal insider information, and you can use it to your benefit. What else could you own?
Other businesses.
Yeah, businesses. In fact, I beat my head against the wall to help agents develop a business so much so that if they ever decide to get out, they can actually sell it because an investor would buy it because it systematically produces cash. If the business is about you, you don't own a business, you have a job. Congratulations, but you have a job. You don't own a business. So you can own businesses, you can own properties. Does this make sense how cash moves? Because here's what happens is all of this then becomes part of this that goes back into the funnel all over again. And then you start a snowball. What do you think about just this diagram? Because I'm going to break it into real life. Does this make sense? I know nobody's running through the gates right now because this is so inspiring and so amazing. And by the way, if you think I'm genius, I'm not. This is stolen directly, completely from this book. It's a diagram in this book. I'm not this smart. But when I saw this, I'm like, I'm going to start telling people this because what generally happens is people make money and they want to do this or this, and maybe a little bit of this if they're nice people. But when it comes to this, they don't know these 4 different buckets that they can invest in, and they're all legitimate investments. They just have different purposes. I would invest here for security. I would invest here for wealth. Does that make sense? I would invest here and be my own credit card so I don't have to give MasterCard and Visa 18, 19% interest if I have to replace 4 tires. I could borrow from myself and pay myself back. And this is how I would recommend you doing it. Put yourself on a 70, 10, 10, 10. Learn to live on 70%, which includes your taxes. Please plan for the IRS because they will tax you. 10% you give. 10% you save, and 10% you put in an account so one day you invest. So if you get a $10,000 commission check, you put it in the bank, you pay yourself whatever salary you pay out of that. Let's say you pay yourself 50% goes straight to you. So you take $5,000 out, right? Are y'all with me so far? $5,000 out, you put $500 here, $500 here, $500 here, and you live off of what, $3,500. I guarantee you, if you live by that plan over time, you'll be a millionaire in the next 5 to 10 years. And I'm going to help you accelerate it. All right. What's your ahas so far? I'm thinking. Talk to me. Now I can see your faces.
I think like I love this model because it makes it really simple. Like there's only a few different choices you can make with money, right? Like and you're always choosing. The one thing I liked what that guy said yesterday on the mastermind is he said a lot of times you'll get pushed back and be like, I just like to spend my money. It's like, well, you're spending your money regardless of which way you put it. You're just spending it to protect you. You're spending it on something right now. You're spending it for somebody else, or you're spending it on for yourself.
Yeah, that was just so beautiful. We're all spending it. So it's just how either I'm spending it so I don't have to stress when I'm 70 years old, or I'm spending it so that I can have a little bit of fun right now. So which one do I want to spend it? And by the way, I'm all for fun. I'm taking my wife to Glenwood Springs for the weekend. I hope I spend a truckload of money. I really do. I've got to spend. So let's go spend it. Let's have a little fun. What else are you thinking?
I also think that people veer one way or the other, and it's about balancing it. So people are savers and never invest, or they invest everything and they don't have any backup plan. So it's nice to see that on paper and like what that ratio is.
Yeah. And I know your name's not iPhone, but iPhone, that was brilliant.
My name's
So, what was it again?
Chantel.
Okay. So anyway, but it says iPhone. That's what your name badge says. So, but anyway, yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. For years, I mean, we were just spenders and feeling guilty for not being savers. And you know what? I need a healthy balance of all the above. And I don't want dead money. I don't want cash just sitting there. My 22-year-old daughter came to me about 6 months ago and said, Dad, she's a waitress at Chili's. She has no rent. I pay for her car. You know, she's a college student at UCCS. She goes, Dad, I've got a savings account and it's just sitting there and it's not doing anything. And she goes, I go to your seminars and I hear you say you hate dead money. What should I do with it? I go, well, you know, at your size money, probably just save it. She goes, okay, I'm going to just save $14,000. I go, okay, how did you get that kind of money? I need to start charging your butt rent. You know, it's like you can start making your car payment, pay for your cell phone. And so she went down to my financial planner and said, what do I do at 22 years old with this kind of money? And he put her on a plan and said, do you know what? At 22 years old, you do this, you'll be better shape than your dad is at 54 when you're 54, just by $200 a month. Because of compound interest, because your interest starts earning interest. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the snowball, okay? Any other questions? This is a guided conversation. This is not a lecture. I just want to give you some thoughts because Tyler, I am not on a mission to sell more real estate. I want to sell more real estate so I can develop more millionaires. That's my mission. I want to develop millionaires. I love Jackie. I got to sit with Jackie this week. It was one of the highlights of my week. I love sitting with Jackie. And you know what? I'm going to do everything I can so she's got the opportunity to earn the right to become a millionaire. I love that she's thinking that way. Does this make sense? I want to do that. The only reason why I want to sell real estate is so you can take a portion of it, put it aside, become an active investor and sell and become a place where you don't ever have to work again. Okay. So back in 2008, 07, 08, what was the real estate market doing? Tyler was still in middle school, I think, but yeah, back in 08, I was starting in real estate. And by the way, there is no such thing as a good market, a bad market. There's markets that sellers take advantage of, and there's markets that buyers take advantage of. Right now, what kind of market is it?
Sellers market.
If you have any inkling to sell and you're not selling right now, I question your intelligence. We'll find you another place to live. There's options there, but right now is the time to sell. Because when's the market going to correct?
Years.
Who knows? Faith, I wish I had that crystal ball, girl, because if I had that crystal ball, we would become millionaires really, really quickly. We don't know. Here's what we found out back in 07, 08. The market corrects when buyers simply said, we're not going to do that anymore. They all stopped doing offers. And it happened last time very, very quickly. People just said, we're not paying that anymore. Right? So I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. One of my steps that I would recommend all of you is read Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant and learn how to get your money off of business ownership and investments. Imagine that your business ownerships, where they do all the work, you don't do anything. They do all the work, and your investments spit off $10,000 a month, $120,000 annually. Now you're not working because you have to. You're not working for money. You're working for pleasure. You're working for something greater than money. Do you get that? Gary Keller tells a story of arguing with his dad about this. Said, Dad, no, I don't work for money. You work for money because when you've got enough, you stop working. I've got more than enough, and I'm working because I want to work, not because I'm working for money. You work for money. I don't. Do you get the difference? I want real estate agents to get out of the trap of working for money, work for pleasure, work for passion. Don't get esoteric with, well, I work because I love relationships. Well, you need money, so you're working for money. So this is how it started for me. And is it okay? And I can't ask this to the Facebook group, but is it okay if I go really transparent and show you personal stories? Because I don't know how else to teach this class, Tyler. It's like my story is my story. So that's all I know how to teach. I don't do everything right. I've lucked into a couple of things and intelligently made some decisions. So back in 2008, I did my first deal. My first deal was a little 322 outside Sugar Land, Texas. That was for $60,000 foreclosure. It was nasty. It had syringes in it. It had bullets in it. It had drugs in it. It had used prophylactic items in it. I mean, it was a nasty, nasty place. My son and I went and cleaned it up. We put $20,000 into it. And I'll talk about this money too at this time. So I'm all in at $80,000. Now, the $20,000, guess where it came from? It came from a line of credit because I didn't have cash. I was a pastor. I didn't make any money. Where did the $60,000 come from? It came from a lender. Yeah, it came from a lender. And get this, my down payment back then, I paid the down payment of $6,000 because back then you could do a 10% down loan, $6,000. And then I took a line of credit and paid myself back, and it was all debt. So I'm all in here, all debt. By the way, the people who say get out of debt do not understand wealth. Here, let me just tackle this real quick. What kind of debt is allowable in the journey to wealth?
An asset.
An asset. What else? It's a debt somebody else pays for. Think about this. The only type of debt that's allowable in the wealth journey is a debt somebody else pays for. And I don't want to get into the middle of your goals, but you don't build wealth by paying cash for your rental properties. You get cash flow by paying cash for your rental properties. And when I turn 60, I'm probably going to convert all my stuff into, I want to own it free and clear so that that entire cash comes to me. But you don't build wealth doing that. You use other people's money, especially when money's cheap. I know that that's so against everything we've ever been taught. So I went and borrowed this whole bad boy. I'm going to just show you. I hope this brings life to you because it keeps on getting better and better. So I paid $80,000 for this property. And every month after I paid the note, I would have $300 free cash flow. Now, is that a home run? $300 a month, $3,600 a year. Is that a home run?
In 2008, hell yeah.
Well, it's okay, but it wouldn't even make my car payment, Faith. Real honestly, it's like, well, maybe back then the car I was driving then it might have made it, but it's like, okay, in 08, $300 was a lot more money than it is today, but it's not like I'm not renting a yacht at this point. It's like, by the way, write this down. In the wealth journey, you have to hit singles before you hit home runs.
That's really good.
My challenge in this whole journey, seriously, you know what? My challenge in this whole journey is I'm grossly impatient. I want the home run now. I want the home run every time. I want to be able to say I joined the country club afterwards. I want to be able to say I rented a yacht for me and my family in the Mediterranean because I hit the home run. I've been at this for a while. I've hit the ball solidly a few times, but I rarely hit a home run the first time. Hit a single before you hit a home run. Okay, so I had this in 08. So I'm making about $3,600 a year. And I did that from 08, and I just sold the property beginning of this year. So I have it for what, 12 years? So how much money have I made? Somebody do that times 12 years, $3,600 times 12 years. How much money have I made passive income off this?
$43,000.
$43,000. And that's just been free cash to me. And by the way, if you have a good accountant, through the power of depreciation, that $43,000 is not getting taxed on because you depreciated most of the value of the house against your gains. So I'm getting this money without cash out of my pocket, and I'm getting this money without taxes coming out of my pocket. Now, is this a home run? This is still a single. But $43,000 over 12 years ain't bad. Get this, I pull cash out of that house 2 times. $30,000 refinanced cash out of it. Here's what's fun about this. I pull cash out 2 times in a refi. My payment stayed the same, so my cash flow every month stayed exactly the same. I put $60,000 into my pocket. When you cash out, refi a rental property, how much tax do you pay on that? 0, because it's a loan. You only pay taxes potentially when you sell the bad boy. So now I've got the $43,000 cash flow. I pulled out $60,000 in a non-taxable loan with refi. So how much money have I made now?
103.
$103,000. How are we doing now for no money out of my pocket? Okay, well, it gets a little bit better than that. So I sold it back in, and by the way, this house still to this day has foundation issues. It's got places like it just feels a little weird. I fixed it a couple of times and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to fix it again. It's crazy seller's market right now. Let's see if it will sell as it stands. I'm not doing any repairs. I'm not doing anything. So it would have sold fixed up for about $160,000. How much did I pay for it?
80. No, 60.
60, and I put 20 into it. It was sold for $160,000 as as it stands. Probably, I think, totally fixed up about 180, 190. So we were thinking about, do we want to fix it up or whatever? So throw it out there for 160. Guess what happened the first weekend? I think I have 6 or 7 offers. And I'm saying it's got foundation issues. It's got foundation issues. It's got disclose. I'm a broker. I'm a real estate broker. It's got foundation issues. It's got foundation issues. It's got problems. It's got problems. It's got problems. And they said $160,000 cash. We'll close in 2 weeks. Like, done. So I now walk, because I've refinanced it a couple times. I now walk with $76,000 in my pocket. I've made 103. I walk with $76,000 on an investment of 80. Got to hit singles before you have doubles. The best time to do this deal was 20 years ago or today. You guys get it? The challenge is, we know when we're getting a bargain on shoes. We know when we're getting a bargain on clothes. We know when we're getting a deal on a car. We don't know, and we're not trained, and I'm trying to change this, Tyler. We're not trained to say, that's a deal. I need to go jump on that. What's your ahas? Because this deal gets better here in just a second. So what's your ahas?
Well, I feel like a lot of people in real estate think you have to have money to buy an investment property. And that, I think that's the biggest misconception, period, about buying real estate, even if it is your own house, but that you have to have your own money to buy.
That is a misconception. Faith, here's what I tell everyone. I'll tell this in this office. You find a deal that gets 15 to 20% cash on cash return, you bring it to me. I'll fund it for you. I'm going to want in on the deal. I'm probably going to take 80 or 90% of the deal, but I'll give you 10% of the deal just for finding it for you. Throw your commission into it, then I'll give you even more of the deal. I'll do that deal. By the way, I look at probably about 7 deals a month because I say this in all my market centers. And so they send me all the deals. By the way, that's lead generation. Do you want to know what your best lead generation, untapped lead generation strategy is for wealth? Teach wealth building to your database once a month. Lead this conversation to your database and get them to be your bird dogs. You guys get this? Now, are you adding value to your database? Heck yeah. Are you getting better with wealth because you have to teach it? I'm only teaching it because I want to get better at it. I'm glad you're here. I hope you get out of it. But I know this, in 19 minutes, the person that's going to walk away with it from this conversation with the most value added is me. So teach it to your database. I don't know why we don't have investor clubs all over our real estate offices. I don't get it whatsoever. But teach this concept. Yeah, it doesn't take money because there are 3 assets. There's 3 forms of capital you could provide. You can provide sweat, that you'll do all the work. You can provide expertise and skill, or you can provide the actual dollars. Those are always the 3 forms of capital that you can get into the investing world. You guys already have the skill and expertise. You may want to throw in the sweat and get a better equity position. You don't have to have the capital. I guarantee you with 1 phone call, 3 phone calls, I could get you any dollar amount that you want to get because there are people looking to put money somewhere to work. What else are you thinking?
I think like in those numbers you break down, so often people focus on the 300 a month, and so often people focus singularly on the even best case scenario, $43,000 that you made over 12 years,
Ah.
and they just completely ignore and forget to factor in the mortgage pay down and appreciation,
That's right.
which totaled whatever else,
Yeah.
180,000.
103. Yeah.
Um, and not to even mention, well, you said you pulled out 30,000 or whatever a couple different times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then what you did with that, that's in turn
Yes.
exponential.
It's the snowball, Tyler. It starts off small at the top of the mountain, and as you stay disciplined, putting yourself on a 70-10-10-10, it starts to pick up momentum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Miss iPhone, you were going to say something. You're forever going to be iPhone.
Yeah, I'll change my name. I just think that also having the ability to keep your eye on your investments in the way that you did. So again, knowing people who have invested and they're happy with their income that's coming through, like Tyler said, or, they're going to refinance because it's need versus like understanding when that's important, when the dollar's cheaper. That's the most important part that I think a lot of people miss, is that that's your investment until it's gone, and you need to do everything you can to leverage that.
Yeah, I love that. Love that so much. Financial literacy is not being taught. It just isn't. We think that the thing is go to college, get a job, pay down your debt, save your money. And that is not always true.
I just love the concept of hitting singles before you hit a home run, because I think we hold ourselves back from, well, that's not a home run, I don't think I should do it. And yet, not only the passive income, the little bit that you raised through that time, and it wasn't a home run, but it was a pretty good single in the end.
In the end. And here's the other thing, Jackie, is about 2009 when I got into real estate full time and I'm deeply in debt. I'm like, maybe I ought to sell that rental house and cash it out and take my $15,000, $20,000 and go pay down my debt. Thank God I didn't, because we were playing the long game. This may be another conversation for it. Learn to live off of your balance sheet, not off of what you feel. Look at a balance sheet once a week. That was probably the first step in my journey. Is I did a balance sheet and I looked at it once a week, and I hated it because it was depressing. It was awful. I remember the first time David Osborne had me do a balance sheet. I literally showed up at an event with my balance sheet, realized I'm a negative $75,000 or something like that. So I am literally worthless. I'm worth nothing financially. Looking at it once a week, it changed over time, because it became the focus. It became the drive. It became the goal. The goal was never for me to be a good team leader, Jackie. That was never the goal. That happened on the way to becoming a millionaire. The goal was never to become a regional director. In fact, if anybody would like to become the regional director, you can have the job. I would gladly give it to you. That wasn't the goal. I became a regional director on the way to becoming a millionaire. Does that make sense? It contextualized my life. Hey, set your financial goals this way. What would it look like this next year? And this is my goal. I'm going to give away $100,000, and I'm committed to the principle of tithing. That means I need to net $1 million to be able to give away $100,000. But it started with the contribution goal. I think I might be able to convince my wife she can live on $900,000 a year. I don't know. It's going to take some mad sales skills and persuasion to convince her that, sweetheart, it's going to be only $900 this year because we're going to give away $100. No, it's like, yeah, that's a pretty nice life. I heard Gary Keller say that he lives on like less than 10% of his income. Well, that's okay when you make the money he's making, but you know where he started that? It was when he's making $100,000 a year or $50,000 a year. He learned how to live on a portion of what he brought home. And just made sure his income went up. Okay, so let me show you, let me finish the story so this deal gets better. So I don't want to pay taxes on that $76,000 and the depreciation over 12 years, because that would have been a tax hickey of all tax hickeys. And I believe render to Caesar that which is due to Caesar and not a freaking penny more. Okay, I pay accountants an awful lot of money. It's funny, I pay them a lot of money so I don't have to pay Uncle Sam a lot of money, right? And so but here's the thing, you never discount your attorney and you never discount your accountant. You always go get the best no matter what they cost, because they'll save you more money in the end. And so through the power of the 1031 exchange, I go out after closing in February and I find a property in Kansas City, Missouri, a 6-unit apartment complex. And I'm going to 1031 my $76,000. Let me show you this deal. By the way, I'll share this. I think I've shared it before with you guys, but just in case I haven't, I do all my decisions on investing is off of this sheet. Every one of them. In fact, most of the times I don't even look at the property. I have a property manager going, I don't care if it's got a white picket fence. I don't care if it's cute. I don't care. Does it make money? The purpose isn't cute. The purpose is money. Will I attract tenants to it? So this is a 6-unit complex. And you can see here this in column G. I want you to walk through those numbers because I want you to see what it looks like with the snowball. It's $565,000. And this is Kansas City. You can't do this in Denver. I wish you could do this in Denver. My gosh, I wish you could do this in Denver. But 565 for a 6-unit apartment complex. The annual income, and it's about a C-class property. They're all studio apartments. The annual income is about $55,000, $5,000 of expenses. So if you pop down to here, this is a number that is massively important to me. It's number 10. My cash on cash is what? What does that spreadsheet say?
8.5%.
Yeah, 8.85%. Now, can I get that in the bank anywhere?
No.
No, so I can take my $565,000 cash and put it all into this property and get nearly 9% interest. Is that a good investment? Say yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Faith. It's just you and me, girl. And so, but instead of doing that, I'm going to borrow money because when money's cheap, investors borrow as much as they can when it's against an asset. And I'm going to borrow 75% of that entire thing, put 25% down, 4% interest on a 25-year amortization schedule. Look at what happens to my cash on cash. It goes from 8.85 and what happened to it by borrowing money. It goes from it goes from 8.85 to 16.4 by borrowing money at 4% interest. And you want to get out of debt? Seriously? Here's the reason we want to get out of debt, because it is a programmed thinking of the middle class that has been ingrained into us since the time we were a child. Now, here's what's better about this deal is I've hedged my bets. I bought this from a wholesaler. I can actually sell this property for 6.25. So I know if I get into trouble, I can get out of it really, really quick. I could sell it at a serious discount and still be okay if the market tanks. You don't make money in real estate when you sell it. You make money when you buy it. You get it? Now, do you remember how much money I made off of that last house? What did I pocket?
176,000.
Yeah, I pocketed. Yes, I made 103 over the years, but I pocketed 76,000. And because of 1031 exchanges, I have to use all that money here. Now, where did I get that $76,000 from? Is that my money? No, that's money I actually, ready? I made that money. I created it out of nothing. I made it. I didn't earn it. I made it out of nothing. So really, I didn't put $141,000. What's 141 minus 76,000? Quick math, somebody. 141,250 minus 76,000.
80,000.
How much?
Like 80,000.
Okay, let's put $80,000 here. I want you guys to watch what happens to my cash on cash return now.
You tripled it.
Yeah. And instead of making $3,600 a year, Faith, I'm making $23,000 a year and getting about 29% cash on cash return.
And Lucas, when I sold some rentals, I took a bath. And I mean, if you do a 1031 exchange, of course, you can keep multiplying it and keep going. And like I said, you got that 45-day window to, but we took some of our rental properties because we felt like we were never going to pay them off. We bought them late. And I mean, they were good. We sold them for good profits, but oh my gosh, either I had a bad accountant and I probably did, to be honest with you. But after they took out, then you got to pay back that depreciation. Right. Obviously you're paying the capital gains on what you earned. Right. And then if this guy did it right, then it goes on to your income.
That's right.
And now all of a sudden so it's like, I thought, oh my goodness, it's a double hit. I just paid my capital gains on it. And now I'm paying, more taxes on my income taxes.
That's exactly right.
You made that 76,000 or whatever, but I'm sitting there thinking, unless you put that right back in 45 days into some kind of another 1031 exchange property, that 76,000 was nowhere near 76,000.
And that $76,000 went right here, Bob. The only way the game works is to 1031 it because I don't want to pay taxes on that amount.
Right.
Yeah. Lucas, is this sheet coming out of MREI?
No, this is my own sheet. I'll share it on that. I'll get it to Jackie so you can put it on our office's Facebook group.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, whoever Thomas in the background was getting really excited about this conversation. I appreciate their enthusiasm. I like that. Yeah. Guys, here's the thing is you want to do all you can to have a clear strategy to avoid taxes. What Bob just said is a very real thing. I had a friend have a rental property for 12 years, not understanding that when you depreciate it over that time period, you pay taxes on all that depreciated amount. So you didn't pay taxes on it for 12 years, now you're going to. And as long as, not a political statement, as long as we have the laws that are currently in place on 1031s, use it. They may go away, and then we have to figure out how are we going to play the game. Do you know what's really interesting about the tax code? You know how thick it is? I think it's about 650 pages. I think, from what I understand, it's like huge. About 60 pages are about how to pay taxes. The rest of it's about how to legally avoid taxes. The IRS has set up a tax code in which if you'll study it or hire somebody that understands it, there's more ways to get out of taxes than there are ways to pay taxes. But ready? The average American doesn't think that because their taxes are automatically withdrawn from their paychecks, so they don't feel it. And they think they're getting a bonus at the end of the year by getting a refund. How stupid is that? Let's be smart with our money. I got 4 things I could do with it. I could spend it to the government and think that I'm doing myself a favor because I get a refund at the end of the year, or I could be smart with it. What are you guys thinking? Give me some of your thoughts. We got 5 minutes left. I'm hoping I can stretch some thinking.
I think we just have an opportunity, if we, I think for myself at 30 years old, if I had sitting on more of these conversations and learn over time how much freedom we can provide our sphere.
Yeah.
To people that are really enslaved, because I'm enslaved by it right now.
So Thomas, this is going to be my challenge one-on-one to you because I hear the little ones in the background. This is my one-on-one challenge to you. Teach this once a quarter to your database. And if one person shows up, awesome. Go read Cash Flow Quadrant, teach chapter out of that. Read a book, do a book club off of that. Teach it once a quarter to everybody who'll listen and start to develop a tribe around you on this journey that you just are a guide. It's just one beggar telling another beggar where to find bread. I mean, I'm learning as I go. Don't be ever the expert, but be the consultant. And you start developing people to have this conversation. See what happens over the next 10 years. By the time you're a crusty old man like me, you're going to be telling stories greater than this one. And I only told this story to give you hope that very broke $60,000 annual pastor salary started this journey, then going into real estate, going $100,000 into credit card debt, but still making smart long-term moves and lead generating my butt off and working really, really hard at something I'm passionate about. Anybody in here, anybody on here, anybody watching this, at any time, you could be here too. And it's so much more fun serving. I love talking to Jackie. You know why? I don't need her to perform, but gosh, I want her to. Jackie, if you don't do your job, I'm not going to be able to pay my kids' college. That's pressure, guys. Man, I don't have that pressure. Now I can say, Jackie, let's go create something amazing and beautiful and wonderful. Ashley, what do you want to do? Let's go do that. If it makes sense, let's go do that. You get to serve people higher at a higher level. If I need you, I can't lead you. If you need a seller, you can't lead a seller. If you need a buyer, you can't lead a buyer. If I need a team leader, I can't lead a team leader. But when you're in a place of abundance, you can come from pure contribution. Does that make sense? How do we do? Bob, I'm so sorry about your loss, but here's the thing. Happens to you once, shame on you, government. Happens to me twice, it's shame on me because now we know better.
Right. Yeah. And we made a conscious choice. We took that money and we did reinvest it. We took it out of real estate and we invested it in some, it was kind of real estate, other stuff down, in that Colorado Springs area. And we hope it's going to pay off. Part of it was a real estate investment on, a property. And part of it was, on kind of the operation profits and so forth. So we don't know, but we just didn't know we were going to take a big bath when we did it.
That only happens to you once, my friend.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
You get smart really quick.
Yep.
I remember my accountant one day, I was in Austin, Texas on 6th Street. My accountant calls me. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why is Tamara calling me? And she's laughing on the phone. She goes, hey, Lucas, great news. I said, what's that? She said, just did your taxes and you made over $1 million last year. I'm like, oh, that is so cool. Bad news. We planned as if you were going to make $600,000 a year. You owe the government another $250,000 on top of what you've already paid. I'm like,
Been there.
that is awful. You only do that once, Bob. You don't do that twice. It's like, okay, we're fixing this moving forward. Okay. Has this been helpful?
Very much.
Okay, 2 minutes left. What I'd like you to do is journal, write down somewhere. I want you to take action on this in the next 24 hours. Action may be simple as I'm going to go pick up Cash Flow Quadrant and read it. Action may be as simple as I'm going to analyze one property every single week and run it through a leverage calculator to see if it's a good investment. Action may be I'm going to start an investor club. I don't know what the action is, but I want to make sure that every time I teach this, that you're taking some sort of action in the next 24 hours that you could commit to. Cool. All right. Hey, I'm going to just let you know, I fought Ashley tooth and nail to make this live class. She said, no, you're not vaccinated. You're contagious. You're a contagion. You'll just spread infections everywhere. But I am looking so forward to doing this live with you guys in Littleton. So maybe Ashley and the crew there will actually let me in the building live to see real people. They try to keep me away from everybody, but
we just felt like you all still needed to just get a little bit of a taste of Lucas before we really start.
I'm an acquired taste. Is that what you're saying? That's awesome.
Lucas, I'll meet you in live person.
There you go. Thank you, Thomas. Me, Thomas. We'll do this. You, me, and iPhone. So we'll all be together.
iPhone's in.
Okay. We'll appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.